Unfortunately, Nefer just isn't worth the pull without Lauma. Let's talk about it. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. It's pretty clear that Genshin has recently been going in the direction of making specific 5-star characters really want specific 5-star supports. You could stretch and say that we've been seeing this since the very start of Notlum with Kinich, because he ideally really wants Emily. However, I would say that that's still a bit of a stretch. You're getting there, but a bit of a stretch. The real start of this, in my opinion, was Skirk, because without Escoffier, that unit basically just doesn't exist. She really wants Escoffier, and no matter how many constellations you get on Skirk, you're always going to feel that Escoffier-shaped hole. And the thing is, yes, she's still definitely going to be strong if you simply just invest into her a lot. However, getting her C1 in Signature, for example, wouldn't really be a way to remedy not having Escoffier. You basically need her if you want your Skirk to perform. And sure, she is one of the top DPSs in the game at the minute, it's worth it, but this isn't a question of worth. It's more so just pointing out that Hoyoverse has been starting to do this recently, and they have only continued it with Flynn's. Now, I will say that in Flynn's case, it was better. That character is so strong at a baseline that you can still justifiably pull for him without a Nefer, and he's still going to hold value for you. A Nefer's a really good damage increase to him, but you far from need her, because he's genuinely just that strong on his own. However, I would be lying if I said that he didn't gain an insane benefit from having the robot lady on his teams. He absolutely likes having an F on his teams. Quite a lot, actually, and it is very beneficial to him. However, he can at least circumvent the absolute requirement for her by pulling for his C1. So, she isn't necessarily a requirement. You have other options, and even if the other options are scuffed, you can make it work. It's not really as bad as Skirk. However, the design philosophy is still there. Now with Nefer, I would say that it's closer to a Skirk situation, and because we've seen this timeline, and we've seen what happens whenever you pull for this type of character without their dedicated support, this is me coming to warn you fully, don't get this character if you don't have Lauma. The thing with Nefer is that she is a strong unit. I want to emphasize that. I am not underestimating Nefer's strength whatsoever. I am fully confident that she's really going to fulfill her niche, and she is going to be really good at what she does. In fact, I think that if you're somebody that really misses how good Dendro used to be back in Sumeru, then Nefer's a really good pull for you, because she's going to bring you back to those glory days, but she's only going to be able to do that if you have the right respective tools for her, because if you don't have those tools, well then she's just going to end up feeling weak, I'm sorry to say. In a case like Dendro teams, you really want all the core components. I'd say in Flynn's case, he was still able to get away with it, but in Nefer's case, I just could not see her getting away with it in any way, shape, or form. Do I think that she's going to be completely useless without Lauma? I mean, to be honest, yes, I do think that she's really not going to do basically anything for you if you don't have Lauma. However, I'd say that sure, maybe there will be some cope free-to-play setup that's going to work with her, but I genuinely don't think that Nefer is going to be good for you if you don't have Lauma, because that deer lady does so freaking much for her. Dendro Red Shred, Lunar Bloom base damage increase, and even being able to heal if you get Lauma's C1, thus being able to act as the sustain for the team. There is a lot that you can do with Lauma here, and that's another thing. Yes, if you get Lauma's C1, then you quite literally have your sustain sorted out, because Lauma's just kind of able to do that job for you. It is an extremely symbiotic relationship, and if you don't invest into Lauma, well then there is just no point in getting Nefer, unfortunately. And the thing is, if you pull for Nefer now and you're a newer player, you're just not going to really be able to do anything with her. I mean, yes, you'll obviously be able to use her in the overworld. Yes, I'm talking about overworld here because that is how dire the situation is. She's literally going to do nothing for your abyss clears, in my opinion, if you don't have Lauma. And here's the thing, let's say you don't have Lauma, but you still really want Nefer. You just really love her, what else can you do? Her teams are still going to be expensive then. Then you'd need Nahida, a character that released all the way back in 3.2, and while she does still have use cases nowadays, she's definitely nowhere near as much of a must-pull, crazy pull that she was back in Sumeru. So if you haven't already pulled for Nahida, well, then you basically don't actually have many options for your Nefer in the end. You're basically just stuck with a purely mediocre character, and I think mediocre is being generous. She literally just isn't going to do anything for you. I usually wouldn't be so abrupt and just say, no, literally just don't bother. because at the end of the day, everybody's gonna have their own favorite characters, and it's completely reasonable to skip patches so that you can get your favorite character. That is completely normal. I can completely understand if somebody just passed on Lauma because they weren't that interested in her, but they're a big fan of Nefer. That probably has happened. I myself passed on Nefer because I just don't like her very much, but I'm a really big Flynn's fan. So, I get it. It happens. And I'm sure there's people that did the same for Scoffier and Skirk. However, those people ended up getting a rude awakening because Skirk really wants the molding chef. Like, to a ridiculous extent, she really wants the molding chef. And I'm saying that Nefer is much closer to that than she is to Flynn's, where you can at least get away with it. And listen, if you don't care about meta, and you don't care about clearing, and you don't care about your character working properly in endgame or whatever, well then that's great. Then you can absolutely pull for Nefer, enjoy her character design, enjoy her as a person, all that good stuff, and you're gonna have no problems whatsoever. However, undeniably, there is a large chunk of people that do actually care about what their character does, and there is a large enough chunk of people that do actually care about their character, at the very least, being usable. And if their character just isn't usable, they're gonna feel like they wasted their pulls. So while I know that some of you just don't care about this at all, it does still matter to enough people to the point where I should be saying it. And I should be saying, if you don't have Lauma, this character basically isn't going to do anything for your endgame, like at all. And she's still going to be fine, I'm sure. I assume that whenever she launches, we'll find some free-to-play team for her. There's gonna be at least a way that you can use her. But here's the thing. Free-to-play Bloom hasn't been good in forever. Why would it suddenly become good because of Nefer? She's not the link that makes it good. Lauma is. If you wanted to revive Bloom, Lauma was the character to pick up. She is the root of it all. Haha, root of it all. But anyways, you get the idea. There are just significantly better investments that you could be making. Now, I will add this. I don't know if Columbina's release is going to be enough to save Nefer. And what I mean by this is I don't know if you can pass on Lauma, but pick up Columbina, and then that's still going to be a decent enough pull. I wouldn't know that yet. We're gonna have to wait and see what Columbina actually does. I kind of doubt it, because I feel like with Dendro teams, you ideally want all of the moving pieces. However, we'll see. That could end up being the case. However, even in that case, I would just wait for Nefer's rerun. Seriously, don't feel the need or the FOMO to pull this character on launch if she's literally not going to do anything for you. As in, she is literally not going to do anything for you. You're just wasting your pulls and wasting your time. Now, trust me, I would love to be proven wrong on this. It would be awesome if this was an Never Flynn situation where, yes, the premium teammate is really freaking good, and that's not deniable. That is always going to be a fact, but you can still get by without the premium teammate. That would be great, but I just don't think that's the direction that we're headed in, with Nefer in particular. So, what if you just still really want her? Well, you can still get her. Obviously, if this is your favorite character, I don't want to dissuade you getting her if you just really love the character and you've been waiting for her for a while now, ever since she was revealed, something along those lines. I get that. My best advice to you is that if you genuinely love this character and you have a ton of pull saved, but you skipped Lauma, just invest as much as you can. Otherwise, make sure you at least get Columbina, because I believe that is definitely going to be an upscale to her teams, and it may help remedy the issue by a little bit. I don't think that anything is ever going to fully solve this, because like I said, I feel like with Dendro characters, you ideally want all of the moving pieces, and Nefer just benefits so much from having another Lunar Bloom character on the team. So, with that in mind, it's kinda hard to recommend getting her under literally any circumstance if you don't have Lauma. And you could make the same argument for basically any 5-star that really wants their specific niche support, but it rarely ever gets this bad. However, like I said, I think this is just a change in Genshin's design philosophy, at least for the Not Cry year, because notice how this has been the case for the past couple of limited 5-star DPSs. In fact, I believe that before Not Cry launched, Skirk was the most recent main DPS that we got added to the roster. So, for the last 3 DPSs with Nefer included, this has been the case. And while it was decently okay with Flynn's, it definitely wasn't the intent for it to be alright with him. Because consider how, if you don't have an Nefer, well, his teams are basically just sustainless. I mostly say that it's fine damage-wise, but comfort-wise, you're still suffering. And I say that it's fine because it is. You definitely still get a really strong unit out of it, and he is still very powerful, but you're still missing out on quite a lot. Like, I'm not gonna say that it's a completely nothing burger increase. Like, no, you're still missing quite a bit. So it's pretty clear that this is the direction that they're gonna continue to head in. So because of that, I would say that if you get Nefer now, be willing to commit and be willing to invest into Dendro on reruns. I don't necessarily think that it's going to be worth pulling Baiju at the first notice. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that whenever Nefer's specific best installed teammates crop up, pick them up as you go along, invest into Nefer as much as you personally can. Obviously, don't feel pressured. If all you can get is C0, R0, that is completely fine. But at least down the line, try and save for her teammates. And then you will eventually be rewarded with a really strong team. Because trust me, Nefer is strong. She is a good unit. However, she is really hard to recommend without Lauma. At least, that's my take on it. Hopefully this video was able to tell you why Nefer just isn't worth the pull without Lauma. This has been Juice, signing out. And I'm sure through the power of simping, many people are gonna pull for her anyway.